Well, good morning. Hey, we are live from the Fun Now headquarters, Fun Now Music headquarters in Nashville, Tennessee. Do I have a great surprise for you guys? Today, sitting next to me.
Future now.
Future Now.
You said fun now.
Did I say Fun Now? Future Now. I said Fun Now. My director in the back, I did get that wrong. Future Now Music, right? In Nashville. That's the great Danny.
But that's a good. That should
We're
be
live,
the
by the
name.
way.
I know. We should change the name to Fun Now. I like that.
Fun Now. Okay, whatever. Well, we're going to have fun now.
Be a division of Future Now.
Right here is my guest, the legendary, infamous rock and roll drummer from the band The Sweet, and also the blues messenger right here, Richie Onori. Richie, welcome. How you doing?
I'm great, buddy.
Now we're going to ask a whole bunch of questions here. As you might know, I don't put pen to paper on the questions or anything like that, but I do have a lot of questions. And he is going to enlighten us with a lot of great information this morning, from his history starting off back from your Los Angeles base, right? That's where you started?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he's from Los Angeles, California, and he has played with numerous people around the globe, from Rick Derringer to Richie Sambora, Keith Emerson from Emerson, Lake and Palmer, just a whole bunch of people. Steve Lukather from Toto, and of course the band The Sweet. And if you heard the intro, we played probably one of the most iconoclast songs of all time, Ballroom Blitz. Fox on the Run, Love is Like Oxygen, Little Willie. Check out their catalog from the 70's. And right now, it's been about 50 years since the inception of Sweet.
Close to 55, yeah.
55, okay. Wow. See, it's been more than a half century of rock and roll, and he's going to enlighten us with all kinds of information. Now, I know you wanted to talk about the Blues Messenger. And
Sure.
I've got it scrolling on the screen, by the way, so you can go to thebluesmessenger.com and... well, tell us. Go ahead.
Well, the new site is going to be up shortly. If you go to thebluesmessenger.com, it's being redone. But you can get a little information, and so that's good. You can go to that or check it out another time.
Wow, that's great. Well, we actually met a little over a week ago. He's heading back to Denver.
Yeah, I'm driving from Nashville because now I'm a Nashvillian villain.
In Nashville,
I'm a Nashvillian.
I like that.
So, but the key thing what I'm doing is that I'm going to Denver, flying into St. George, and I just a few months ago I was with the Utah Music and Arts, and I performed in front of the kids for their class. They're one of the top high schools in the nation for the music and arts high school, and now they're expanding into schools all across Utah. It's fascinating. And so I'm going to be flying in there for the graduation, and at an amphitheater. I'll be performing there from the 14th through the 16th. I think the show is on the 15th, so that's one of the things I'm doing, is to enhance and really be mentorship to a lot of kids. So I really enjoy doing that, and helping kids out there to find their way in the arts, as well as guide them through the experiences I've gone through, many negative things, for me to find out how to live properly and to be able to kind of go through the minefield of life and help future generations. That's what I'm really here for. Yeah.
Wow, that's
my purpose. Yeah.
That's pretty inspirational. Now, just so you know, we met through Danny Nova, who's in the background right now, over at he's trying to do a little boogaloo in the back. And it's so amazing because I hit the ground running when I got here, and the minute I walked through the door, I saw him and I saw Danny, and we connected like serendipity. It was such kismet, and we started going every single night, with the exception of last night, because he's got to get on the road pretty soon right after this. And it's going to be a lot of driving. But we went to all the hot spots of Nashville, and of course you sat in on quite a few sets and just tore the drum kits up. Now, if you know anything about Nashville, there's a lot of great talent here, including especially drummers. And as well as they have done and performed, he brings something extra. It's like a firecracker to a grenade. I mean, he's like the boom, he's the bang. And that's probably from the years of experience of being on the road with a lot of great bands. Give us a little quick history on the bands that you played with and the artists that you've played with, just so people know, that you've just done it all. I mean,
Well, first of all, I must say thank you for that nice compliment. I mean, I was born and raised in LA. I started in dance. I realized it rhythmically that I had. My brother was in a surf band, so I started playing drums, and I knew that I had something. It's like Keith Moon. There's something about Keith Moon from The Who. I mean, he was able to, ignite the world with his chops.
Absolutely.
And so I grew up during the Hendrix times and Cream and all the best drummers. So, but you play from your heart and you play from your soul. So the key thing is my history is my first break was with Question Mark and the Mysterians. They're a Detroit band.
Oh yeah.
And with 96 Tears, I was just a kid, and then I got in jazz, and so I learned all different. It really served me well because then I was into Deep Purple and all that, and later I played with all these guys too. So my history goes back from that, and then in '81 I played with Derringer, did studio work with Rick Derringer, the great Rick Derringer, and then from that point on. I played with James House, a great songwriter here in Nashville, but he was on Atlantic Records, and Steve Hunter from Peter Gabriel's band was in the band. And so I did the King Biscuit Flower Hour, and I did a tour with him. But it goes on and on for what my lesson in my life has been as a drummer. And so from Keith Emerson to Brothers Johnson with Louis Johnson, being and then playing with all the great bass players from Larry Graham from Sly, and I was just really gifted with playing with the best musicians and great being the NAMM Jam drummer. NAMM is a National Association of Musical Merchandisers, and I was the NAMM Jam drummer for many. So I played with Les Paul, I played with Larry Carlton, I did shows with Carlton. So I'm very diverse in my background, and so that's kind of. I got very involved in the Starlix instructional tapes. I did Jeff Porcaro from Toto. I was the musical director on that. I took lessons from his father.
Amazing.
But that's kind of a brief thing. And then after that, Jeff Porcaro being a Toto, I got the gig with Bobby Kimball, and I toured with Bobby Kimball from Toto, which was, playing all the stuff that Jeff did on his video and all those little Bernard Purdy shuffles, and it was exciting.
Right. Wow. So as you've toured and traveled with all these different genres of artists and music and things like that, because Brothers Johnson is a complete turnabout from, like, let's say working with Steve Lukather or Keith Emerson or
Sweet.
Yeah, Sweet, definitely Sweet. And along the way, I know that he's finding a lot of different things going on, a lot of purpose, like with the Blues Messenger. We've worked on a couple videos together. He showed me a lot of great stuff out there. You got to go to his website. But I want you to expand more on that, because whatever you've been part of, I mean, you even went to the grand opening of the Guardians of the Galaxy a couple of years ago, because they were doing a suite, how they had the 70's music embedded in a lot of the movies, synced. He attended that, but along the way, he's always had a passion and drive for a higher purpose and a higher meaning, while at the same time perfecting his craft with music and inspiring young people like you did the other night, downtown Nashville.
Yeah, that's right.
So what really triggered you? What was your turning point?
Well, sometimes it's divine intervention happens. I believe in spirit. I believe that the Creator has a higher plan without getting too religious or spiritual. I think that music and the power of music is the strongest vibration on earth. And there's just too much division. There's too much things going wrong in the world. And it's always been that way on planet Earth. But we've come to a almost biblical time, again, staying away from religion, but I think it's very important that we need to all come together, and it's very ideological. It's almost like, yeah, right. But at the same time, I think the power of music can really bring a lot of people together, and I think there's a group agreement. The more people that start awakening and start to hear, and that's what the message is of the Blues Messenger. I was given... like through like a divine intervention, I was given, I listened to listen to the not freaky voices, but I listen to the spirit to say, okay, what's your purpose? And I think that's what's missing in society is there's a lot of people that are not listening to themselves. They're always looking for guidance or a counselor or this or that. If you start tuning in to that, and so that was my really my impetus to really be able to fulfill my purpose of creating music that are messages and to start helping mankind the best I can at this juncture in time. Yeah,
That's fantastic. He's expanded a lot of ideas to me, and of course to Danny sitting in the back. Danny Nova in the back he's also an amazing, accomplished musician, and I know that you played with Robbie Krieger because I know Danny does the Doors, really amazing,
yeah,
exceptional. And were those experiences for people out there? What were those like? Working with certain
I the 70s, I look at the 60s and 70s as a renaissance in music, and as we all know, it was a very special time. So I was very influenced by Jimi Hendrix, and that's the way I play guitar.
That's right.
I play very Hendrix-like and Stevie Ray. I mean, that's my music that I create. And so also when I was touring with Uli John Roth from the Scorpions, that's one of his favorite artists too. But I saw Jimmy back in the day, and he looked down at me and gave me the peace sign, and I felt like I was anointed. And again, these are all little pictures of our life. But being with Uli John Roth from the Scorpions, he had this Sky Academy, and so Robbie was there, and we played. Before I had played with him at one of these NAMM shows, like I said, we did Roll Baby Roll, and that song, what's that song, Danny?
Roadhouse Blues.
Roadhouse Blues. Okay, thank you.
There you
So
go.
I played that so I was very moved to be, to be able to start playing with these guys, which I grew up to. And then when I worked with Keith Emerson, I go, hey, I totally related to Keith as a musician. He'd come to my place and we practiced, and we were called the Aliens of Extraordinary Abilities. We didn't go on that long, but we had a long period of time where we did a lot of playing together. And so when you're playing with masters and you realize yourself that you are of that kind of ilk, you can really appreciate that you can look into everybody's eyes and go, okay, let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Little Marvin Gaye, Motown right there. I like the word ilk. That's good. I gotta write that one down. Well, let's see. I'm trying to think what else we can cover here. We've covered, you're from LA. You've been branched out from the 70s. You made all these different transformations all the way into the 90s. You were with a band, Satyr, and then...
Yeah, we grew up... I grew up... we formed a band called Satyr, S-A-T-Y-R. It was Greek mythology, and we were kind of like a Genesis, like with Peter Gabriel. We had masks, and we were the first ones to use krypton lasers and so forth. And Satyr would outdraw Van Halen. Okay, that was the day Van Halen. You'd walk down and you'd see Randy Rhoads, playing some small little club. So I grew up in that. It's almost like kind of what happened with Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton. There's a little area in England where Jeff Beck, they all hung out together. Well, the same thing in the San Fernando Valley. Mm-hmm. We all played parties. That's how we came up. Or we'd form these. It was called Mountain Jams. We'd put a generator out, and I'd go with the guitarist Bob Steffen, who ended up playing in Quiet Riot or DeBro's band and all that.
Right.
And then he was Satyr's guitarist eventually. But we'd play these little mountain jams, and all the Hells Angels would come, and it was crazy. And there'd be no bass player, but we'd play Manic Depression from Hendrix, and we'd play this stuff, and we grew a huge following. So when Satyr formed, it was all over, and then we started open for Alice Cooper in Canada. And we did the Welcome to My Nightmare. And I was I was like 22 at the time. But it gave me enough girth to be able to go, I can do this. When you're playing Winnipeg Arena for 12,000 people and you're a kid and all that, it's exciting. So, so that's kind of my story. I'm sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it. Well, let's see. I got a comment back there, a question. Let's see. As a drummer, you're always in the background. You don't get the recognition you always want from the fans. How do you humble yourself every day? You didn't hear him play the other night.
Well, that's a really good question, and that's the whole purpose of the Blues Messenger, because I'm the front man, okay? And I've done quite a bit of shows. I played big festivals as the Blues Messenger. So I really was, and because I do get a lot of attention as a drummer, and the key thing is when you do a big drum solo in the middle of a Sweet show and you get everybody going like crazy, you get attention that way. It's not about attention, but it's about showing your gifts that you were given. Everybody has gifts. I don't care if it's you sell product. I don't care what it is. We are all given gifts. Well, mine, my mom was a stage mom, so I did that. But as far as to answer your question, what fulfills me is the Blues Messenger, to play and sing and write. I have 60 songs in the can, and I didn't feel like it was the time to really come out with these songs. I've got songs like American Fighters, Come Together We're the USA. These are guys, I've got the guys from the Eagles, the horn section. I've got Dickie Sims, who passed away. He played on this. He was in the Tulsa band for Clapton. He also played with Bob Seger. So I've got some of the best musicians on my track. So I'll be releasing that in the near future. But it's plain, and it's really getting out there. And again, one of the biggest satisfactions I have is really bringing people up out of apathy and grief, because we are lost. So many people are lost. And it's bringing the kids to the point like, hey, there's something to live for. Drugs and Ritalin and street drugs, or all that is not the answer. We need to rise. That's the name of the record. It's called We Rise. You can go to People for a New American. That's my that's my nonprofit. And I have Sherry Watson, who is my president. She started Americans with Disability Act, 55 million people. I'm the executive director. So I'm not just a musician that has all these, it's about the doingness, to actually go out there, okay, and actually really change the world with a movement, a grassroots movement that matters. And that's where all you guys can really join us in. So it's www.fanausa.org, and maybe you can put that in.
I will put that there.
But
yep.
People for a New America. And what is People for a New America? People for a New America is community unity, how we have to come together with and bring as many like-minded people together. And that's what we've got. We've got a huge, we have something called the Masters Inner Circle, that people are game changers. So it's a combination of the power of music and of an organization that can do something about it, that can influence with the sphere of influence. So that's what I'm about.
Did you have a nice comment here from somebody? Oh, I actually have a disability myself. That's awesome. There's another question from somebody out there. It says, where do we join? Did I spell that correctly? Is that how it's spelled?
It's www.fanausa.com.
Oh, Fana. Okay, so I got the Fana part right.
Yeah, Fana,
okay.
USA.
USA. See how we do this live?
.com,
Let me see if that comes out right. And see that right there? And then...
Yeah, Sherry was she was riding an ATV when she was 22. She was a musician, great concert pianist and a sax player, and it was with those three-wheelers. Mm-hmm. They weren't safe, and she did a face plant, and she was in a pool of blood. She should have died. She was in a coma, and basically she changed the face of America along with a special group of people. So those and. Basically, the disabled ones were the most oppressed people on the minority. They were forced to live in beds of pee. They were forced. It's just horrid what they did. So they fought because they had a necessity level to say, you know what? I mean, a lot of people talk about, people of color. They were forced to be put on the back of the bus. Okay. And one of the key phrases of these people say, listen, we couldn't even get on the bus. So she, every time you go to when you go to a pool and you see how you can go into a hot tub, mm-hmm. She's responsible, Braille for the blind to know that that's the right bathroom. The handicap spaces, in her group, she was there with George Bush and all the key players, that she was able to do that. So I was able to pull her into People for a New America, and she really knows her stuff, and we are just so grateful to have her on. And she had this company called Power of Purpose, she has so many followers, and she left that because this is her higher purpose, is People for a New America, and it's all of our purpose. It's very deep.
Incredible. Yeah. He would share several minutes at a time with me out on this beautiful deck over here overlooking the Cumberland River here in Nashville. And he doesn't even really scratch the surface. I don't even think we have enough time, even though there's no time limitation, except I know that soon he has to get on the road. And I know that we're actually gonna talk before we conclude, probably one or two more things. But I do want to remind us that we want to talk also about your project with not just the Blues Messenger, but of course Ballroom Blitz. Should we talk about that?
Well, that is the. I knew that, again, you follow your heart, and sometimes it's hard because we get so embedded into our life and we get so attached. And so when you really live your life of taking chances and risks, I knew I had to come to Nashville because I'm doing a country version of Ballroom Blitz. And I knew, and lo and behold, I meet Danny Nova and his producer, Dave Jenkins, and my producer know each other. And Dave says, man, you got to meet Danny. Well, Danny Nova is a mover and a freaking shaker. And this guy gets stuff moving and really going. So it's so exciting that I come here and then I start making calls and I get the top fiddle player to play on the country version of Ballroom Blitz, which we've already got going. So you're going to be hearing that, and a great pedal steel. And so this is going to be coming down the pipeline. I'm very excited about it, how it's turning out, and everybody is. So Ballroom Blitz, besides Fox and the Run and Little Willie and Love is Like Oxygen in Action, which we play live, which we're touring all over the United States this year. We're in Ohio and Kentucky, and we're in California, a bunch of shows. In between all this, we've got some incredible things going on. But at the same time, with this Ballroom Blitz, I felt like Ballroom Blitz is the most poignant and important song that Sweet did. And it's just great doing a country version.
We have a couple questions from some stranger out there.
Yeah, that is Janae Fleener. Okay, she was inducted. If you've ever heard of her, she is something else. And she was, if you look at her Wikipedia, she was, I think, 3 years. She's the first woman to accept the award. I don't know if CMAs or I don't know, but she is a top-notch fiddle player that's scary good. And then she's bringing in a steel player that is equally as good. So we're just excited about it.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Being a DJ most of my life, I would play even years later, 10, 15 plus years later, when I dropped Ballroom Blitz. Or, it would just tear the dance floor. You would see people that weren't even probably born when that song came out. I mean, they're dancing around and singing around. So a complete reboot of this song is just going to be, it's going to be radio.
Well, you know what was funny? I was talking to this pedal steel, and he goes, you know what? That's one of the first train beats, even before country, that they were like, I go, really?
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, that's, that the train, so much that's become so indicative to the country market. I don't know about that. I think it's been around even before that, but the train beat. But anyways, that was his opinion. He thinks it's kind of a two-step kind of thing. I think it's made, and it was always in my head to do a version of country, a country, and country is so closely tied to the blues. So much is change in that Nashville and country that I just felt like it's a beautiful marriage.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit. And we threw the words around here. Danny, Richie, and I wasn't expecting any of this when I walked in the door, and the serendipity, amongst other words I could choose, it flowed perfectly. The balance, the harmony. I mean, Danny's constantly on the phone and working with all kinds of people, and all these young people just gravitated to Richie and him when they walk in the room. everybody's tapping me, and I'm about 2 inches shorter than, or taller than these guys, and they're all tapping me, you know, and they're like, "Who are you? You know, God, blah 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 blah," and they're taking pictures with them, and then when Danny sings or Richie plays, and you got to see him on a guitar. He was teaching me a couple. You forgot to teach me the C note.
I'll do it before I leave.
Yeah, I know you will. And you know, I'm playing bodyguard and everything else with these guys. But I tell you what, it's just amazing what these guys are doing. You know, when you look at guys that have been around in the business that have earned their stripes and blazed trails through the music industry, they're still prevalent, and they're magnanimous with everything that goes on in music here, not just in Nashville, because this has kind of become the main hub, I think, since like LA kind of slowed down a lot. And but you, like I said, the way the young people,
Yeah.
like when Nate and all these other guys were walking up, they just felt like they were in awe and reverence of these guys. You know, when they saw him get on stage with these young players, and they didn't miss a beat. They had to keep up with him. It was crazy. And when he wails on a guitar, I mean, he's not just playing chords and notes. He's perfected his craft. So you got to check him out. I implore you, I beg you to see. And not only that, but you've heard the stuff that he's been involved with and the people that are connected to him, like Sherry Watson, the things he's doing with Danny. I mean, I came down here for one reason, and it was my son brought me here to have a higher purpose. And as soon as I walk in the door, I met these guys. I met you, and it's not one. It's not a one-sided It's not one faceted kind of element. It's a whole bevy of things going on.
Let me add in.
Sure, please.
I'll tell you, Chris, because with your loss, with your son, and so much you've helped so many people of saving people, turning a negative into a positive, like Chris has, you know, that is such an incredible thing. As we learn and we have, you turn tragedy into triumph. And that's what we're all doing here, is changing. Life is rough. Like for Sherry, what she went through, what Chris has gone through, what I've gone through. You don't even want to hear all the crazy stories I have had to deal with. But you know what? I'll tell you, it makes you strong. And if you survive this stuff and you're able to, I don't know, being a preacher is one thing, but being able to show lessons to those kids coming up, as you see their eyes lighten up when I'm going to be in Denver and St. George at this thing, it gives you such purpose. And people don't know their purpose. And what you have to do is you got to look inside and say, well, what is my purpose? And a lot of times it's help, okay, for everybody. There's a common denominator. It's helping, okay? Mm-hmm. So helping people is really our gift, and that's what we need to do, is to turn heaven, this earth could serve as hell. How do we turn it into heaven? It's by us getting on the right page, becoming like-minded, to start helping each other and start rising and start teaching ethics in our lives. And getting the kids off Ritalin and getting all the psych drugs out of our society. It's not necessarily very good to put Band-Aids over your problems. It's hard sometimes. Some people have to do that because they're crazier than, but it's not recommended. It's going deep into your heart and your soul. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's about helping. It's about finding yourself, making the decision to say, okay, am I looking, or have I found it? And so that's where you tie in purpose. You tie in purpose to say, what's my purpose? Say, wait a second. It's not all about me, but it is all about me. There's a paradox there. But at the same time, what is your purpose? So I look forward to each and every one of you guys to ask that question to yourself, and how you're going to create a better world out there.
That's amazing. Did you getting there? You getting that? I hope you're getting that. I know you're getting it out there. Especially some of the people I see out there I see Joseph from Little Rock. I see Vinny from Detroit. Are you guys stopping in Detroit, by the way?
Not this year, not so far, but you never know. But we don't have anything on the books, no.
Yeah, and we just talked about last night. You know, he played. I think it was the Shelter he played at next to downtown Detroit. But anyway, well, are we gonna Danny, my music producer? Are we going to wait? Did Danny? Oh, how's it spelled? Oh, how does Richie stay healthy? That's a question I was asked.
What I did to stay healthy, okay, is a key thing. Is at a young age, I was afflicted by. I started going to doctors quite a bit for some bacterial infections and so forth, and then I got some horrible hives. And so at 15, and being a very sickly kid, I realized I wanted to go the natural way. And so I started looking for the right healers that would go the natural way instead of going the medical model. And so what I did is I did that. Also, half of it is spiritually, becoming, spiritually aware and looking to yourself. You got so much mind junk there can age you. It's very reactive stuff. So if you can start eliminating that, also eliminating the parasites in your body, if there's a way you figure out to do that, because believe me, we pick a lot up. Mm-hmm. And bacteria, funguses, there's viral, bacterial, all these things chew away in the society. There's radiation that eats away at us. And that's why cancer is so prevalent. So the way I stay healthy is for mind, body, and spirit.
Mind, body, and spirit. That's a trifecta right there. Great answer. Good question, by the way. Okay, you know what? I know he's got to get going soon here, and I could talk to you all day. Well, we have, and I know we're gonna play that. Kick it up. We're lifelong friends now. We're bros. Danny Nova. Thank you very much, Richie Onori. The Blues Messenger. Check him out. We're out. Thank you. Thank you, Richie.
Peace out.
Peace out.